Once being in third grade, being an elementary student, being in and out of speech therapy classes, being in and out of content mastery classes, also being labeled underneath the special ed umbrella. I remember when I was in third grade, my third grade teacher told me that I was not gifted and talented enough to basically participate in the gifted and talented program in my school. Also graduating high school with a 2.3 GPA. And what's so interesting thing is when I was 17 years old, I became a basketball All-American. And see, when I became a basketball All-American, one of the doctors for the Dallas Mavericks, after visiting 5 doctors previously of that, I was told that I could no longer play basketball ever again because I was diagnosed with 6 fractures in both of my legs. And within those 6 fractures, I was diagnosed with the dreaded black line, is what they call it. And I was so confused, and I was so mad, and I was so upset because, not to mention, graduating high school with a 2.3 GPA, I'm already thinking the only way that I'm going to go to college and be something in my life is if I play sports, because my whole entire life, that's all people ever told me that I would ever be good at. That you're nothing but an athlete. You're 6'4", 200 pounds, at 17 years old. That's all you're going to be able to do. And so I really believed it. I actually really believed that that was all I was actually capable of becoming in my life. And so my peers and all my friends, they started making fun of me. They said, ha ha, Andre, you can't play basketball anymore. What are you going to do with your life, Andre? You're a bum. What are you going to do now? And I remember I just used to get so mad, and I used to get so upset, and I used to just bang my head up against the mirrors, and I used to punch walls, and I would cry, and I would say, why does this have to happen to me? Why? Like, why me? Like, I didn't do anything to deserve this. Like, why? Why? I just want to play basketball. I just want to do what I love to do. And I'll never forget the time when my mother was driving her car. She was going about 35 to 40 miles per hour, and I jumped out of her car. And I remember the back tire skint past my ear. And I was centimeters away from the tire crushing my head. But the thing is, because I hated my life so much and I hated everything about myself, I just wanted all my pain to end and be over. Because I hated my life, and I was so sick and tired of what everybody was telling me, which is I don't matter. I'm nothing in my life. I'll never be anything. Fast forward a couple years later, at 19 years old, I became a best-selling author of a self-help book. At 20 years old, I started getting invitations from universities and high schools and middle schools and organizations all over the country asking me to speak at their conferences, asking me to speak at their schools, transforming lives. Basically, people asking me and telling me that they want me to basically teach people how I was able to psychologically reprogram my way of thinking and how to get out of the box that basically had me feel limited in my life. I'll never forget this day when I was 20 years old. I was speaking at a high school, and this young girl, she came up to me, she said, hey, I want you to take this note, but what I want you to do is when you take this note, I don't want you to read it until you leave. I said, all right, fine, cool, whatever. So I take the note and I put it in my back pocket. I go to the restaurant with one of my buddies after that speaking engagement, and I go and I take out the note and I read it, and the note said exactly like this. Thank you for coming to my school today. Because if it wasn't for you coming to my school today, I was going to go home and kill myself. Because my mother calls me out of my name. My father tells me how worthless I am. My father tells me I don't matter. And all my peers at my school make fun of me. And they call me all these mean and nasty names. And truthfully, she said she really believed it. But she said if I had not have came to her school, she was going to go home and take her life that day. Wow. So I'm thinking to myself, what did I do? Ultimately, I was being myself. And it was at that moment I told myself, as I'm crying at the dinner table reading this note, because I'm stunned and shocked, I said, I could never give this up. So I started to see my true gift, my true power at that point in my life. Then at 22 years old, I was nominated by the Mayor Pro Tem and asked to run for mayor of an entire city. Now today at 23 years old, I facilitate 40-hour seminars, 4-day seminars for executives and business owners, entrepreneurs, pro athletes, doctors, lawyers, and basically anyone who's looking to have a transformed life, university students, high school students. Basically, people come to me when they want to basically have a psychological shift within their thinking and how they show up so that they can basically transform not only their life's purpose and their business and their goals, but ultimately how to live a life of freedom. How to free yourself from all the pain, from all the guilt, from all the self-doubt that we ultimately trap ourselves over our past experiences that we go through in life. Because see, our past experiences have a huge effect on how we show up today. See, what we hear, see, and feel basically programs our way of thinking, is what I've discovered over my past 6 years of studies and travels, and of course reading over 250 plus books. Now the irony to that is, at one point I hated reading. When I was in high school, let me tell you, I was reading like on a 7th grade reading level. It was terrible, but it was because I didn't have a reason to read. I didn't have a true purpose for reading. But it wasn't until that little girl told me that I saved their life, I found a new purpose for why I need to read, because I need to advance my intellect so I can effectively transform more people's lives around the country. So, I say all of that with all humility, but I say with good reason to make a valid point. As you see how I am right now, this perception, right, gives off this idea that, who is this guy? And so it's interesting how this perceptional pattern that we play in our minds, how it has a huge effect on the quality of our relationships in our life. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shift out of that. Now see, what's the difference between what I had on earlier and how I am today? What's the difference? The only difference is your perception. Because see, no matter what I wear, nothing changed about me. I still am the same person. But see, I will tell you this. One of the most interesting discoveries that I've ever discovered, specifically from one of my mentors, Benjamin Chatson, is this. We are human beings. We're not human doings. And it's ultimately how we are being within every situation and how we're showing up that ultimately really defines us. But it's how we're being, it's how we're showing up. See, it's not what we wear, it's not this, it's not that, it's not the color of our skin, it's not our age. That doesn't really play a huge effect like we think it does. But it's ultimately what we bring to what we wear. It's what we bring to the color of our skin. It's what we bring to our age. And that is our beingness. See, when we talk about great leaders around the world, see, great leaders like Mother Teresa, great leaders like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Dan Pena, Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, the Wright brothers. We look at all these great inventors, Thomas Edison, Tom Brady, whether you love him or hate him, LeBron James. There's a pattern that every leader possesses that makes them distinct, that makes them so different, and makes them actually capable of actually creating the results that they create in their life, from their relationships, from their business, from their health, from their peace of mind, their purpose, whatever they're looking to create. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this circle. And when I draw this circle basically represents your space. Now, when we're talking about your space, what does that mean? See, your space, basically things that show up in your life, the results that some of you guys might want. Maybe some of you guys want a life of joy, a life of peace. Maybe you guys want a life of financial freedom. Maybe you guys want a life of just prosperity within your relationships. Ultimately, the relationship that you have within yourself, whatever that is. And see, what I'm about to teach you is I actually teach this within the 40-hour seminars that I do, and I teach this to high-end execs. And within this one principle, I have people that come back to me 3 months later literally telling me that they were able to maximize their entire income by 30% after 3 months of teaching them this. I had somebody come up to me and tell me that, Andre, dude, you literally transformed my relationship and you saved my 15-year marriage. Not to mention, you also advanced the relationship between me and my kids. So if this is your space, and this is you within your space. What I would call you as an individual, I would call you, this is your condition. Your condition. Now, within our space, there are 4 psychological barriers that basically stops us and holds us back from creating the results that we want. Those psychological barriers kind of show up in our life like blocks. Now, each psychological barrier plays a huge part and huge defining moment on actually creating a life that we say we dream about, creating a life that we desire. So it's like, how do we go from point A to point B in our life? How do we go from a point in our lives where we're able to basically take what we have in front of us, disregarding the circumstance, create the business that we desire, create the relationships that we want, and actually ultimately live the lives that we say we dream about? How do we make that happen? See, once again, I said we're human beings, not human doings. See, most people have the idea that if I want to create more within my business, then I got to do something. If I want to have a better relationship, I need to buy maybe my wife some flowers, take her on a date. But how many times have we been in relationships where maybe we've been with someone who did so much for us, but we still felt like the relationship was very loveless? We still felt like the relationship was very dead. Or how many times, even with parents, sometimes they do so much for us, but there still is no connection there. There's no authentic connection within a relationship. Because, see, there are psychological principles that plays a huge part in how we ultimately create the life that we desire. It's not what we do. It's not the flowers. It's not the dates. It's not the money. Because I'll tell you this, money gives you no type of happiness. But ultimately, we bring happiness to money. Just like relationships. Relationships don't give you love. We bring love to relationships. So what are some things that some of you guys might want? Maybe you want joy within your space. Maybe you want happiness. Maybe you want money. Travel. You want to travel. Some time. You want some peace of mind. What else? What are some things you guys might want? Maybe you guys want some, who wants to be sexy? Anyone wants to be sexy, good looking? Yeah? I think we're all some sexy individuals in here. I think you guys should give yourselves a round of applause for how sexy you guys are. I mean, you guys are all very sexy. Like, I definitely give you guys some round of applause for that. You guys are incredible. Successful children. I like that one. Who doesn't want that? Who would like to make maybe $10,000 a month in business? Maybe $20,000, $100,000. She's like me. I would love to make $10,000 a month. All right, $10,000 a month in business. Love it. All right, so these are the things that you want to create within your space. These are the things that you want to basically implement within your life. Now, if you notice, there are 4 major blocks that are stopping you from putting more within your space. So if we want to create more within our life, what does that mean? We have to eliminate these blocks. Because, see, if I eliminate this block, now we have this huge gap here, and we could fill our life up with more stuff in our life. If I eliminate this block, we can then put more within our life. If I eliminate this block and that block, we can then put more within our space. But as long as these blocks are subconsciously within our space, then there's no way we can actually create more within our life. How do we psychologically eliminate the blocks? And most importantly, what are the blocks? So the blocks are being in control. Being right, being in control, looking, and I'm going to explain what each one means as well. Looking good, being right, being in control, looking good, and the last one, being safe. Being safe, being right, being in control, looking good. So what does this all mean? Now, some might say, well, why would I not want to be safe? Why would I not want to be right? Why would I not want to look good, be in control? Well, I'll give you an example. If I'm driving down the road, I want to wear my seatbelt. I want to be safe, yeah? I want to wear my seatbelt. I want to be safe. If I were a judge, I want to be able to control my courtroom, right? I want to control my courtroom. If I'm a teacher, I want to control my classroom, okay? If I were to have a procedure done, the doctor better be right about what he or she is doing. They better be right. So, and I'll give you one more. If looking good, if I'm in a fashion show, then I want to look good. I want to be able to flex. I want to be able to look nice. If I'm on a date, I want to look good, yeah? However, what happens is, when we talk about creating the life that we desire, most of these show up in our space subconsciously. I'll give you an example. A couple years ago, I was driving down the highway and a truck pulled up behind me. He pulled up behind me, he's riding on my tail. Now, how many times has that happened to us? Or someone cuts us off and we get angry and we honk our horn, we like, we get so angry and so mad and frustrated. So that's exactly what I did. So this guy, but see, this is what he did. This guy passed right by me, and then the passenger driver literally stuck his middle finger out, and he flicked me off, and I'm sitting there as I'm driving. I'm like, who this dude think he is? I'm about to jack this dude up. I'm going to call my boys. He don't know who he's messing with. Don't know who he's talking to. I'm going to mess this dude up, yo. Like, who this dude? I was so angry and so upset. But then what happened was, as I'm like driving off, I'm thinking I'm about to really do something to this dude. I then stopped, and I said to myself, I said, bro, what are you doing? Because, see, I made up this idea that him flicking me off did something to me. I created this thought process within my thinking, this belief that him flicking me off means something. As if though him flicking me off actually means some meaning. Like, I gave it meaning. It's no different than somebody calling us out our name or giving us some racist slur, and then we put some meaning behind it, and then we react. But see, what if I were to get out my car and then fight this guy? What if he had a gun? Bang, I'm dead. But see, we don't think about that. We don't think about the possibilities of our action. But see, because I was committed to be right of the idea that flicking me off means something, I reacted irrationally. I reacted with anger and frustration. And here's the cool part about it. Anger and frustration is nowhere within my space. None of you guys said you want anger and frustration. Neither did I. Because who wants that in their life? Who wants anger and frustration? But however, I created a space of frustration and anger due to what I made up and what I chose to be right about. I chose to be right. And I'll even give you this. What if I had a girl that was in the car with me when I was doing that? What if I just wanted to look good in front of her? I would have been committed to looking good in front of her just so that she can think how big and bad I am, just so that I can show her that can't no one mess with me. It's no different than going to a club and someone whistling at my girl, and I'm like, yo, who you thought are whistling at my girl? And I go up and try to buck up to them. Once again, fight breaks out, boom, shot. I had 2 friends actually get shot and die from that actually happening at a club. But see, it's because of the psychological thinking, we don't think about it. We don't think about the possible outcome. So when we commit to looking good and being right within our space, sometimes it doesn't serve us. I'll give you another example. Let's say you're in a relationship. You got 2 people and they're driving in a car, you have a guy and a girl, and let's say the girl wants to play her favorite type of music, country music. Okay, she loves country music. Now, the boyfriend hates it. He's like, I hate country music, it's the worst thing ever. He hates it, all right? So they get in the car, she turns on some music. He's like, nah, we ain't listening to that crap. Nah, turn that off, turn that whack stuff off. I don't want to listen to that. She's like, oh, all right, babe, whatever. She just sits there in the car, she's like, looking out the window. This boy, I swear. But then this is what happens day 2. They get in the car again. Once again, she wants to play her music. She turns the music on. What does he do this time? Nah, I don't want to listen to that crap. Turn that stuff off, man. I don't want to do all that. Man, babe, come on. You always do this. I want to listen to it. No, I don't want to play this. This is stupid. This is dumb. All right, so day 3 comes. She turns it on again. This time he's like, all right, whatever, we'll do it. 30 seconds within the song, he's like, man, heck, no, turn this whack stuff off. And now she's like, oh my gosh, you always do this. You are so controlling. You're so controlling. So how many times does being in control even hinder our relationships? I see it every single day where being in control and being right, where people will lie and steal literally just to be right about something. People will literally destroy a relationship just to be right and just to be in control. Girl cheats, the guy catches her. She's talking about whatever, it's not a big deal, just get over it. You didn't see anything. And she's choosing to be right about what he saw and how he feels. So now you're basically telling the person that you love that this is how you should feel and that your feelings don't matter. So she's choosing to be what? Right and in control. She's choosing to be right and in control of the conversation. So now there's arguing, there's bickering going on, because now you got 2 people who are so committed to proving their points. However, what if one person could just stop and say, I'm sorry? And some relationships wouldn't be destroyed. Some relationships wouldn't be killed. Unnecessary relationships wouldn't be killed subconsciously. But why would a person be so committed to being right and in control? Why would they? Why would they choose literally destroying the person they say they love, the person they say they're so committed to? Why would they choose that? Why would they choose destroying them? Why would they choose being right and being in control of them over what they say they really want, which is love, joy, and happiness? Once again, destroying relationships is not in this person's space. It's not in their space. However, we subconsciously subject to it because why? Because we want to protect something. In that moment, we want to protect something. What are we wanting to protect? We want to protect our identity. Some might call it the ego. We want to protect our image, this illusion of an image that we have to protect ourselves. We have to protect ourselves from something, but we're protecting ourselves from nothing. We're protecting ourselves from nothing. It's made up in our head. That's why I said the perception, it's all made up in our head. And we're perceiving this situation as if though I have to protect myself because of what you said and what you did. You flicked me off. I got to fight you and get angry. You whistled at my girl. I have to fight you. But why do you actually have to do it? If you really think about it, you don't have to do it. But we're choosing to be right ourselves about something. We're committing to something. We're committing to something that doesn't align to what we say we want within our space. I'll give you a couple more examples. Let's take a sports team for an example. I've seen this happen plenty of times in sports. You got somebody on a team. They think that the reason why they keep losing is because it's everyone else's fault. It's the team's fault. It's the coach's fault. It's not my fault. There's no way that it's my fault as to why we're losing. Y'all suck, man. We need new players, man. We need a new coach. I'm not even going to try anymore. I'm just going to barely go through the drills and practice. I'm just not going to listen to my coach anymore. I don't care what my coach say. How many times, even in corporations and within businesses, does being right and being in control literally hinders the growth of companies? Why? You have someone like a manager. They sit there and they tell you, you know what, this is what we're going to do today. You're in your board meeting. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. And what happens? What happens when someone raises their hand and say, hey, I want to suggest something? Okay, what is it? Da-da-da-da-da-da. They suggest it. And then what does the manager say? No, it's a dumb idea. No, we don't want to. No, put your hand down. But I'm the manager. You have to listen to what I have to say. Now, some people might say, well, she's the manager or he's the manager, so they have to be in control. However, there's a difference between being in control and being controlling. So as we notice, there are 4 psychological barriers that always stops us from actually achieving what we want, from actually living the life that we say we desire to have. But it's when we become conscious of them, we can then be in full control. We can be in the driver's seat of our life, and our life experiences no longer have to drive us when we become consciously aware. But they all happen subconsciously. But when we can become aware of it, when you're in a situation you're not getting the result you want, ask yourself, am I being right? Am I being in control? Am I being safe? Am I looking good? What am I being right now? Because once again, we are human beings. We are not human doings. And if we focus on how we're being, we can be more in control of our own life. And we become the employer of our life, no longer the employee to our life.